Now once we made a selection, and we may have copied and pasted the original selected item on top of something else, we may not be able to congratulate ourselves on a job well done, because you'll see something like this, a blue halo or a blue line appearing around the object. There are clearly other bits in this selection that need tidying up. So all selections take time. There is no easy way of doing selections really quickly, unless of course you're doing the ubiquitous white cat on a black background type selection. So I can very quickly sort of get round here and just fix up by erasing some of the stuff around this cable and just tidying it up. So a little bit of time spent is well worth it, because your selection will end up looking very convincing. It'll look fantastic. Okay, I think that's tidied that one up. Okay, there's a few bits at the top of the scaffolding up here. Okay, and I'm using a point-to-point selection method where I'm just holding the shift key down. Every time I click, it joins the first shift key with the second one and third one and so forth. So I can get around here and just select and erase using the eraser tool in a straight line. So that's pretty much it. So I could go around the whole building and just shaving off a few pixels if I wanted like that, but that's fairly tedious. What we need to do is select that empty space. If I turn the clouds off and you have a look at the layer above it, the house layer, you can see there's a lot of transparency, and that's good. But what we've got here, of course, is the ability to select, and I'm going to use the magic wand tool, because it's dead easy for the magic wand tool just to select everything, or at least I thought it was going to be, in order for us to get this. Let's just deselect that and go back and increase the tolerance a little bit and select that. So it's selecting pretty much everything except for, we're just going to stuck on that one. Let's just add to that. There we go. So we just need to add a few extra little bits. So it should have been a little bit easier to do that, but as you can see here, there's actually a fair amount of sort of latent pixels, as you can see here, selected in the image, and they're there because they're just left over from the inaccurate or the not very good selection process we did with the selection brush originally. So what we can do is this. I'm just going to deselect that for the moment, and I could actually use something like the quick selection brush like that, and we can just run that around the edge and have a look in here. Quick selection brush is kind of reasonably accurate. It's actually not very accurate at all in this case, so I'm going to go back to the magic wand tool, and that seems to be doing a reasonably good job. If I go and choose selection and go into mask mode, you can see exactly what we're doing here. We're making an absolute dog's dinner of it. I'm going to choose a nice hard brush to do some erasing. So I'm now in the selection brush tool, but I've got it into this amazing little mode called mask mode. And what mask mode allows me to do is just go back and just get rid of some of these little bits of sort of over painting here, and these are the things that are actually causing the problem. So you can see here there's quite a bit of sort of over painting happening in here. So I need to just get in there and deselect them, or actually delete them entirely. There we go. I keep hitting the wrong key here, so I'm holding the Alt key down and just going to delete some of this. So it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes just to tidy up this area. Hopefully get this sorted out and cleaned up. Alright, let's have a look at the roof. Roof's looking pretty good. Let's have a look over here. Oops, that's not looking so good. So you can see, even though I have selected and I have deleted it, it's got a vague amount of tone in it. So we really need to get in here and tidy this up a little bit better, because otherwise it's going to make an absolute mess when we try and fix it up. I'm going to go out of mask mode, back into selection mode, and I'm hopefully going to use, let's try the magic wand tool again. Okay, actually magic wand tool, Robin, there we go. Okay, magic wand tool's pretty good. It's going to get that bit in between the telegraph wires. So the problem here is it actually does a very good job of selecting the stuff, but if we zoom in, you can see it doesn't actually go all the way down to the edge of the building. So we can use a number of different techniques, and what I want to show you here is a thing called the selection modifier. Guess where you find that? Well, you'll actually find it down the bottom here under Refine Edge. Okay, and we can modify it, but the first thing, I'm just going to show you how to do it manually. I would choose Select, and I would choose Modify, and I would choose to expand the selection. I'm not sure how much to expand it, so I'm just going to try with 2 pixels and click OK. Watch what this line does when I click OK. Bang. So it shrinks down. It's almost like it's been vacuum sucked onto the outside, and it actually would have shrunk down all the way round onto that. Now the danger of doing too much of this, of course, is it's going to actually erase the cables or the wires off there. I kind of don't worry about that too much. But if I now press backspace or delete, it actually just shaves that off completely. As you can see here, that's before, and I press delete, it actually shaves that little blue line off completely. A way to modify that even more is to apply a thing called a feather. So the feathering ability is here, and what this does is it says that we know that the selection is actually like a knife edge, it's like a scalpel edge, but if we put a feather like 2 pixels, it actually softens it 1 pixel either side, north and south or east and west, of that line. The curious thing is you don't actually see that happen here unless we go into select brush mode and we choose the mask mode, and you can see that red line is no longer sharp, it's a little bit fuzzy. So that's what we're going to do, go back into selection mode, and again if I press backspace or delete like this, we can see, well hopefully we can see, let's just go back into here. Okay, we press backspace, you can see it actually takes most of that out, but actually sinks down. I rather think that's actually a bit too much, so I might go back and choose, instead of 2 pixels, let's just choose 1 pixel, be a little bit more conservative. Then I press backspace again. Okay, it still eats into it a fair bit, but you may not notice that that's it when we zoom out. So that blue line has probably disappeared entirely. Let's just turn this back on again. Have a look. Wow, the blue line's gone completely. Let me just undo that. Turn it back on again. I want to undo this and actually show you. Undo, expand, undo magic wand. Okay. We should be able to see. That's not bad. Okay, and you can see it's stopped again. It's stopped at that area here, so I need to go back and select, and then expand this by using select, modify, expand. Let's go. We're going to go 1 pixel, I think. And again, I'm going to hide that and then press backspace. You can see it does shrink it down a little bit, but I think if we select feather it by 1 pixel as well, and again I'm going to hide that feathering, so when I press backspace it does actually reduce it down. I think for some reason we actually need to do it probably 2 pixels around the right hand side, but for the roof line that's just amazing. Look how clean that is. All my troubles have gone away. Fantastic job. Alright, another way to do it of course is to use the button here that says refine edge. And this adds another level of sophistication, I suppose, because it allows me to, for example, see, oops, we've got a stray thing up in here. It allows me to do this, to actually get in there and just erase some of the stuff that's annoying me. And I can see my mask in a number of different guises, like white on white, black on layers, in a reveal layer situation, or just with marching ants. And then I can get in and smooth my selection line. Okay, there's the selection line. I can smooth it out a bit, so if it's a bit jaggy, I can smooth it out. I can apply a feather to it, and again that's just way over the top, Robin, but you know, a little bit of a feather, and we can shift the edge here, and what that means I can make basically contract or expand exactly as we did manually by just typing in. This is just using a slider, and curiously it's listed as percentage, and I'm not quite sure about that because I prefer to listen to numbers which are like 1 pixel or 2 pixel. I can understand that. Percentage, I'm not quite sure. It's a little bit more subtle. But as you can see here, I can shift it and it really swells out away, or I can bring it into sort of like +15 and it tightens it up on the edge of the buildings again. So really, really useful. You know, you have to put the time in initially to fix this up, because if you don't, you're going to end up with you know, curious edges around. And I'm just going to go back here and have a go at doing this. So again, I need to use that magic wand, and I can see not very good. Let's refine the edge a little bit. So we'll pull this out, and I'm going to shift the edge. What are we going to? We're going to shift the edge in a little bit more. I'm going to feather it by about 2 pixels, somewhere around that mark. Okay, see if I can actually shift it in. Yeah, and that's, you see that 100%. It's actually only a few pixels, so maybe about 25%. I'm going to press Control H on the keyboard. So Control or Command H hides my selection. So if I press backspace, you can see I can just press the backspace a few times, and each time it does a little bit more, so it doesn't delete it all in one go. And now I've shrunk it down. I've got a fantastic result. Okay, let's kill that selection. And you can see it needs to go a little bit more, I think. There we go. But that's pretty clear. That's a pretty clear result, I think. We've got there. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, it's a little bit rough around the trees. So what do we do with trees? Trees and hairy cats and dogs, probably the hardest thing to do. So one of the things we can do is simply just manually do it. And I would use an eraser brush. Where's the eraser brush? Here it is, Robin. And I would choose a wacky kind of shape, something like that, because we want to have something that is a little bit weird in terms of its shape, so that you can actually produce a rough edged erase. Okay. And again, you know, if you've got a whole forest to do, I probably wouldn't bother. I'd probably just go and do it on another photograph. But you can just get in here and fix it up like that. So a little bit hard to do because it requires a fair amount of manual dexterity with the mouse, which of course is actually impossible because it's like drawing with a house brick, as I said before. But you can just motor around here very carefully and just erase some of those more noticeable white bits. And if you want, you can even get in there and just use one of these completely crazy brushes like this, just to basically break up the area like that, so that it just looks a little bit less man-made, a little bit less machine-operated, and a little bit more sort of natural. You know, some of these circular holes here are a little bit too obvious, so I'm just going to go in here and just tidy that up a bit. So you basically put a few imperfections back into the process to make it look as though it's a little bit more natural, I think. There we go. Something like that. Okay, just mess it up. Much better. Okay, that's all happening. So generally that's, oh, I've missed a white bit up there. Uh-oh. So we're going to have to go and use the eraser tool. There we go. And we probably need to just circle that and get that back in. Okay. Suck that in there. Okay, and then press backspace, cut a hole in there so I can see through the drain pipe or whatever. So key things about making selections are be patient, put a bit of time in, don't take too many shortcuts. The longer you take to make the selection, the more accurate, the more convincing it's going to be. Other things are, don't forget to save your selection under the select menu, and then you can load it when you come back to work on the image, because that's going to save you heaps of time. Another thing is to consider using the modifiers, selection modifiers, which include refine edge, the feather, which softens that selection edge, and the modify commands, which basically expand and contract, so you can basically pull that selection a little bit tighter onto the subject in order to delete little halos that you often get in the process. And that's pretty much all. Having taken the jump, you'll find that selections really do open up an entirely new door for you in terms of picture editing and allow you to transfer. Now, finally on this picture, we need to consider whether these things actually fit, the sky and the building. And actually they're not a bad fit in terms of tonality, but of course I can still use levels to darken or lighten the image just to make the tones a little bit closer, to make it look as though they're going to fit the scene. So don't forget to make a final adjustment on the image before you sign off and save the image. Job well done.